Welcome to A Funny Thing Happened on the way to the podcast.
Yeah, I'm Jesse.
And I am Eric.
I have been intrigued about doing this for a while. You are a outdoorsy type person.
I am.
Yes. And I used to be and still love the outdoors. I used to go camping a lot. When I was camping, it was always good, wholesome, properly cooked food. Right? We'd bring eggs, we'd do all that because we were scouting. So it wasn't back
Right. You're not
when
trying to
we would
survive.
go canoeing and stuff like that. It was a different story. It's when we hunted duck and whatnot.
Cool.
And would go light. However, I enjoyed, when we were in the States with Melissa and Tila, trying that freeze-dried ice cream. So,
Freeze-dried ice cream. Yeah, that was...
at Cabela's,
It was okay.
the freeze-dried ice cream sandwich.
Yeah.
Well, it seems everybody and their sister has been doing this on the internet, so it's our turn.
Oh, this is a trend?
Yeah, it's a big trend.
I haven't seen it. I don't think I've seen it.
So we're going to sample 3 meals.
Okay. I am excited to sample some meals. Oh, they're just like prepackaged things.
For
Yeah.
breakfast,
Sure.
scrambled eggs with bacon.
So you don't have to cook this. This is
Just add water and let it sit for a few minutes.
So you've added water?
No.
No.
We're going to as we're talking.
Okay.
So for breakfast...
This is actually more well pre-planned than usual stuff.
Thank you.
It's good.
At breakfast, scrambled eggs and bacon.
I'm excited.
Lunch, lasagna with meat sauce.
That could be good. I've eaten a lot of the just add or just boil like type rations for that they would give you like in cadets. So I'm kind of used to some of these concepts. And there's a store up in Barrie called Mech that sells these kind of things too. Outdoorsy store.
And I figured we'd go American for supper.
What are we getting?
Biscuits and gravy.
Ooh. Okay. How do you do biscuits with water?
I don't know. So I figured I should get a measuring cup. That was the only thing I didn't prepare for. So I will get a measuring cup. I will boil up the water. And we'll have breakfast. As it's doing its thing, we'll talk. And then we'll talk more, have lunch, and we'll have a 3-course meal.
Good. Cut to when we can talk reasonably again.
It's not a healthy meal.
No, these are not healthy meals. That's okay.
Thought it was worth trying.
So while we're on the topic of chewing stuff, and I guess we're gonna have to prepare that, I went to
Told
a
you it'd be
dentist.
soft, by the way.
That's fine. I went to a dentist today. So, I mean, boring summary of that. I've had a cavity once in my life, and I needed to get it filled. That was back when they used like the mercury, all shiny fillings. They put that in, and it broke after several years. It came out pretty much. So I needed to go have it redone at another dentist. That was about 4 years ago. And I went and they put in the white one that kind of matches the color of your teeth. And he said there was a little bit of a cavity underneath it and whatever. So I figured it was just a bad filling the first time. And then it broke again. So then I just today went out and now my tooth broke off from the top part, like the top part of a molar all the way to the gum. Like it chipped, like a big section, like big sliver of it. So yeah, that was fun. Got to sit in a dentist chair and get my teeth drilled for literally an hour and a half with like one little break in between so the dentist and her assistant could rest
Take
out
a
bit.
breather.
Yeah. The point of all of this, why, and maybe this is just my experience, but I don't think I'm different than every other patient they see day in and day out. Why do dentists always act surprised about certain things? Like, for instance, the anesthetic stuff, they usually numb you up with a gel type stuff, and then they stick a needle in. And then they, give you some local anesthetic to numb the pain of drilling. Every single time I do it, and it's just normal to me, it doesn't fully work. You still feel pain. But then if you mention it to them, and I don't care, like I wince maybe at like something during the whole procedure, and then they'll be like, "Oh, did that hurt or whatever? Like, do you need more anesthetic?" I'm like, "It hurt, but that's just normal.
You're drilling into very sensitive.
Or like, and then midway through the procedure, the assistant had the little like air vacuum, whatever thing, and she like jabbed it into the side of my gum, and I like kind of moved my head. And then they're like, "Oh, you just must not like the vacuum or whatever." And it's like, what? You must do that occasionally. You slip and you stab somebody in the face. Is it really weird that I reacted that way? I don't know. Or I don't know.
When I went to the dentist in December, some of the things they said to me struck me as weird. Maybe it's because I'm getting older. But when the dentist said, "It's good you still have your own all your own teeth," like
in their 20s?
Is that something that's a bad thing? Maybe in St. Catharines or Welland, but like I didn't realize that was an accomplishment.
No. Well, I guess
maybe my teeth were so bad. She's like, some of them should have fallen out.
Maybe. In my parents' generation, I guess I've seen every family member's got a big cap, like a crown or something, or maybe a false tooth somewhere. But yeah, it seems like you should be able to reasonably keep all of your teeth at least until maybe the age of 40 before you have some kind of issue. I don't know. But yeah, dentists are weird. They're weirder than any other kind of doctor, at least for like human interaction. Just because they always act like they've never seen something before. And on top of that, I don't buy it because they always have an assistant. The dentist always works with an assistant. And they talk about stuff that's clearly medical, and like I don't understand what they're saying because I don't study dentistry. But they like mumble and whisper. They have a specific, really weird whisper and a mumble that makes it absolutely incoherent. I don't even know what words they're saying, but all dentists can do it.
Well, it's like a doctor's prescription pad.
They
have their own language.
But at least if a doctor throws medical terminology at me, which a lot of them do, I find at least as I've gotten older, you could ask them what certain things are, or they can explain it to you. But dentists, no, they don't care. They mumble and talk incoherently about things that nobody understands.
Why? The thing that's always bothered me, and nobody gives a kind of a clear answer, why was there a divide when Canada decided it was free healthcare time that dentistry wasn't included? The teeth and bad teeth and gums can affect so much more than just your mouth.
And I imagine, when was it the division struck? I don't know when we got socialized health care. But I could see it perhaps if it was a thing far in the past that we decided we're going to do this socialized healthcare program, that maybe at the time dental care was just something luxurious and extra. It wasn't seen as the norm for most people.
It was either dentistry or wood teeth.
Okay. Yeah. And then I'm even a long time ago they'd have a lot of like.
It is still a luxury. It's not cheap to go.
Dental appliances are very expensive, braces and retainers and things like that. I don't know if they still have other setups, but yeah, it's a weird. It's also, it feels like a very hacked together kind of medicine too. Just like, your teeth are crooked. Fucking put this helmet on with some wires on it, like they used to do.
Yeah.
Very strange solutions. Like,
medical technology has progressed a lot, but dental technology seems to.
Yeah, like this thing in your face. It's infected. Okay, we don't have medicine like antibiotics or whatever to treat certain things like that. So let's just smash it out of your face, out of your skull. Great. I don't know. It seems very harsh, the approach that they have. It's not like delicate like most other medical procedures that you could have done. Getting a filling, you're literally like, where else are you just drilling? Unless you have somebody that's maybe a broken bone somewhere and you need to put like a plate in to hold it together. That's a very serious injury. Seems to me like a little tiny speck of cavity on a tooth isn't a serious ailment, at least not initially. It's crazy the terms that you have to approach it with, just these power tools.
And I hate that part, the drills.
It's not pleasant, although the numbing agents seem to be effective enough that it's not unbearable either. You said earlier that when you got your wisdom teeth out, you got it the right way for you. You just got knocked out, and when you woke up, they were gone.
Well, they didn't really give me the choice.
Yeah, and that's an interesting thing, too. I know that the doctor who did it for me didn't really give me a choice either, in the way that he didn't really present it as an option. But what the fuck are you doing?
I'm trying to be able to make sure that this camera, because this is the one that's giving us the issues, doesn't stop recording. I've been doing it the past few episodes, and I've always been watching, but for some reason I can't freaking get the angle right, so I'm going rogue.
Okay, hold up.
I guess I could have also did that too.
Where do you need it to be?
More that way. A little bit more. Perfect. Sorry.
So my dentist who did the wisdom tooth extraction, he didn't really present that as an option to me either, that you could have local anesthetic, although I knew for a fact before I went to any doctor that that's what I wanted. I wanted the full experience of somebody ripping 2 of my wisdom teeth out and smashing the other 2 to bits to extract the pieces.
You're an odd person.
Yes, I am. I think that most of the doctors who can extract wisdom teeth will do it under local anesthesia, but I don't think they want to. I think they want you to just be out like a light.
You made the point before. You're just easier to deal with when you're not twitching.
You know how rough they have to be to get your teeth out, especially when they're smashing the pieces? You're going to wake up with bruises if, at least when you're not under, you can sort of hold a person accountable just by being a witness to what they're doing.
That's true.
That's what I appreciated about it. Because a lot of people talk about having horrible bruises all over their face afterwards. And I didn't have that problem at all. And the doctor still was quite rough, but I didn't feel like it was an issue to cause injury anyways. Also, I don't know what did they give you for medication?
It was 14 years ago, Eric. I can't remember.
Oh, you can't remember what pill they would have given you?
Oh, what pill afterwards?
Yeah.
Just Tylenol 3.
Okay, yeah. I don't know I think in the States they get better drugs. Those look like blocks of...
They look like yellow Cheetos.
They're very light and airy.
As eggs scrambled are.
Yeah. Throw the water in.
I will.
I think in the States they get better drugs, but for me, they just gave me basically a double dose of ibuprofen, per pill.
Okay.
And that's all I got. Are you reading something?
I'm just making sure. I got to pour it in.
And wait.
Wait 5 to 6 minutes.
We should probably daisy chain a couple of these up so the kettle's roaring for the next one. We're going to get quite a meal out of this. You said it was not going to be that much food.
Well, if we don't like it, that's the thing. But I picked, I
I'm
picked
not
ones
picky.
that are decent.
I'm not terribly picky when it comes to that. Do you have any experience with rations and meals ready to eat and stuff?
Did it in Scouts.
I kind of liked some of them. I think some of them were really crappy, like powdered eggs and all that. But there was definitely a few that stood out. Like the ravioli and lasagna dishes were always really good.
I was going to get more. There's a lot to choose from.
They're probably pretty expensive relative to what you get.
7, 10, and 10.
Yeah, they're expensive.
Yeah, they're not cheap. So I picked ones that we would both eat. There's a vegetarian burrito bowl type mix that you might I don't know that you might have liked.
Sounds pretty decent. I am actually quite hungry, by the way. Ate soup for dinner, so I've come prepared.
Okay. Well, I'll get the lasagna on the go.
All ready to go, one after another.
So how has work been in the dead of winter, Eric?
Well, right now it's kind of a... let me date this episode for anybody. We're recording this on Tuesday, January 29th,
That's okay. It'll only be 2 weeks from now when
only
it airs.
2 weeks.
It's not that bad.
This may very well shape up to be the coldest 2 days, at least, we have in the Niagara
Tomorrow's
region.
supposed to be friggin' freezing.
Without wind chill or anything else, it's negative 18 tomorrow and around the same Thursday. But wind chill factored in, and they keep saying stuff like negative 30, and there's fucking radio commercials like, you might get frostbite if you stick your dick out the window. And
well, that's just truth in almost any winter.
I guess. I don't know. I don't think it's that big of a deal. Usually that's how it works
lasagna.
It does look like lasagna. Usually that's how it works in Niagara Falls, is you get 2 really cold days out of the winter. Although it's a little bit early in my opinion. I think mid-February was last year's really cold 2 days.
Well, it's just because winter is coming all at once.
Yeah. But to summarize it, it's not great framing houses in the wintertime. The biggest issue for me is roofing. Hot, yeah.
That'd be slippery.
That's the thing, yeah. It's hard to not exaggerate, but the slightest sprinkling of sawdust, or let alone just like a bit of powdered snow, will leave you just sliding right off plywood sheets. It's not like maybe people are thinking at home walking on the roof to put Christmas lights up. It's not like walking on shingles. Shingles give you loads of grip. Plywood, you have nothing. Like even on maybe like a 612 slope. So for anybody who has a clue what that means, it's just a pretty average slope, easy to walk on in the summertime, no problem. You don't need to really be too careful. You can just harness yourself up and you can walk up and down it all day long. Even that, I've fallen and struck my face and knees, anything on the roof so many times. Just feet up, the rest of you slam over and over again all day long. And it gets to the point where nobody laughs at you for doing it anymore, just because everybody's doing it constantly.
But never off the roof.
Never off the roof. Although when you're near the edge, you get pretty careful. At least for me, I always pull my brake really tight, which it's the rope grab portion or whatever. So yeah, if I did fall off the roof, I wouldn't get past the soffit. I'd probably fall like 3 feet. It's not a bad distance to fall. Although I'd probably still get like fired or something later. So
You'd get fired for falling?
I guess you're kind of being unsafe if you fall. It's this weird.
How's it unsafe if
It's
the
this
roof
weird
is slippery?
backward logic where, say, you are driving your car
Okay.
and the road's suddenly slippery because there's oil and you go into the ditch. You're still getting a ticket. It's this weird thing where somebody is accountable, and since nobody else could be accountable for that, you have to be accountable.
True.
So I don't really know what the forces are and that be on the site or whatever, but I think if you got caught, say the site supervisor sees you slip off the roof, there's going to be hell to pay, even for something stupid like as a stupid accident. I don't know.
This one just looks like bread, like
looks like
really
bread.
white
That was
stuffing. This is the biscuits and gravy.
It looks like croutons with like baking powder and some Parmesan cheese around it. Does it smell good?
It smells like salt and gravy.
It smells like what it's supposed to be. Okay.
This one it says remove the oxygen absorber. Well, I forgot. And I think a lot of people forget because on the bottom it says if you forget to remove the oxygen absorber,
Silica gel.
Don't worry, your food is still safe to eat. Simply remove it and discard.
I think it's just silica gel in those packets.
Silica gel is poisonous, though. They wouldn't put that in food.
I don't know. Does it dissolve in hot water? Because if it doesn't, then the packet, just don't eat the packet.
Do not eat.
Yeah, don't eat. See, it probably is silica gel.
Wonder if anybody was ever stupid enough to think this is seasoning.
Yeah. I think that actually is a thing that went on with some products. Vaguely the ideas in my
This
head.
looks like something you could get in like Mr. Noodles or something.
Bit. Are we ready to eat our scrambled eggs? I'm a little bit excited
in about 49 seconds.
Okay. We're going to do it. We're going to do it the proper way and wait the proper amount of time.
Yes.
All right. What is new in your life in the past week since we recorded a podcast?
This is a good week. I'm not depressed in any way. I'm just optimistic.
Well, that's the opposite of my week. What are you optimistic about?
I don't know. Life. I woke up on the wrong side of the bed last Monday, and then that's when we recorded. And I was just kind of pissed off all day at nobody in particular, and just annoyed. And then we had our little on-camera, overly dramatic heart-to-heart, and that was that. Whereas this week,
if you're gonna look at your phone, at least talk into the microphone.
I'm just making sure I have proper timer. 1 3/4 cup for
one
biscuits and gravy.
All right, it's a bit of a bigger meal. Need a bit more water. So you woke up on the wrong side of the bed.
And I was just annoyed. There's reasons why I can't really talk on here as to why I was annoyed, but just kind of everything. And then this week, like I had all those photo shoots yesterday, which really weren't that many, but if I plan properly for Easter, I assume we could actually do a little bit more business.
Make some money.
Yes. I'm doing some design work for an old client of ours who, for personal and proper reasons, I can't really say who it is, but we've both worked for them.
Sounds
And
good.
it's not Mugs and Meeples.
Good to hear.
Just graphic design work. They're going to order some business cards and stuff like that. So
Nice.
yeah, and I just feel better. I get an actual date with Melissa tomorrow, which we haven't went out.
Where are you going?
Mugs and Meeples. She's never been. She went once with you, and then that's it. So we're just gonna go. George is gonna treat us.
That seems weird that you've never gone with her.
No.
Oh.
We always pick times to go, and then we never go. Like, she's busy, or there ends up being something.
I got a fork.
Should we put it on a plate or eat it out of a container? We should put it on a plate.
Put it on a plate. Yeah.
Scrambled eggs with bacon.
We don't really got a camera to look at it. Maybe I'll use the GoPro for that. Sounds like we need to do the viewers justice.
Oh, it smells like bacon. It's very watery.
Slop
I
it
may
on.
have to put it in a bowl.
Nah, just slop it onto the plate. I think you want the solid bits.
It does, like...
It, minus all the water, it looks like eggs.
I like my eggs runny, but...
That's the bit missing the point.
That's just, that bacon's salty as shit.
Yeah.
Okay. Watery scrambled eggs and bacon.
What's the plan to...
Well,
okay.
we've been friends. I don't care if we...
It's very hard to reach over to that plate. What if we just split it onto two different plates
That works too.
so that I may have it in front of me? We're going to have to clean up your countertop.
See, now it looks more or less like
Okay.
really runny scrambled eggs.
Yeah, pretty much. There's a whole lot of water.
Cheers.
Bon appetit. No, I do not like eggs. The eggs taste like bacon. That's the funny part.
It tastes like breakfast
A little bit.
because of the bacon. The eggs are weirdly textured. They probably could have been in the water a little bit longer.
They're stiff.
They're not all the way.
Maybe not. Is that like the minimum amount of time?
Drain excess water, stir, and enjoy right out of the
Let's
pouch.
drain the next one into the sink or whatever. I'm actually okay eating this. If I was
Me too.
really hungry and camping, I guess it's okay. Someone's driving an old-timey car.
I'll give our lasagna another minute or so.
Yeah, let's let her cook. Is this really easier than bringing eggs and bacon with you camping?
I never had issues bringing eggs or bacon.
No.
Bacon's easy.
Keep it cold.
Eggs, you can... I mean, I would say that even the, like, milk carton eggs are better than this.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But really, to go camping,
Oh, that one was really dry.
if you just pack a cooler with a little bit of ice in it, and you can keep bacon and eggs probably chilled for days if you need
Now,
to.
these meals aren't really for people who are packing a cooler. These are backpack meals, right? You want to
You can
carry
fit it like a
giant cooler with you, backpacking,
I guess.
or kayaking.
You got to
portaging.
carry the equipment required to boil water, so at least a pan if you're going to stick it over a fire.
Not my favorite, but
I have drained the water off of my plate. Well, I'm excited to see the rest of them.
I feel like lasagna will be better.
I think the lasagna will be. It looked very promising the way that it was in the package. This is kind of like the human version of like a... want to say there's some kind of dog foods that have the consistency of this meal.
Well, I was thinking cat food. We used to give our cat freeze-dried fish treats.
Freeze-dried fish. Yeah, sounds like something a cat would like.
And since these are freeze-dried, I'm assuming...
See, when you were saying that I was an outdoorsy person at the beginning of this podcast, I was like ready for like caribou meat or like something cool like that.
That's your department.
I should supply some. I don't have access to much other... I actually have a good deal. I have access to deer meat, moose meat, bear meat. I could probably get some duck meat, although I don't think my family hunts for ducks, but I'm sure there's some way. Wild turkey is on the menu. Snowshoe hare, grouse, ruffled tail grouse. If the damn red squirrels up north weren't endangered, then you could probably hunt a squirrel.
I've already had squirrel.
Yeah, that's always the one that gets people like, oh, the squirrel, that's so weird. No, it's kind of just like the most basic animal you could possibly hunt. They're everywhere.
I did it by mistake.
Accidentally shot a squirrel. Okay. So these are freeze-dried. They definitely taste like they've had all the moisture sucked out of them to begin with.
Yes.
Gonna have to get
lasagna. I have to let out the
water.
extra water.
Lots of strategic cuts in this one. That's good. Oh, yeah, the packet's in there still.
It smells good.
Yeah, it does. Smells like lasagna.
For this.
Oh.
Use the big plate for this because
They get to upgrade plates.
it's bigger.
Okay. Can you slop half of it onto the other plate then? It looks okay. I hope it looks pretty hot too.
It's very hot and powdery at the bottom.
Powder's good for you. At least I'm gonna pitch that. So yeah, it looks like something you might get at out of like a Michelina's microwave dinner container.
Smells like that too.
If it tastes that good, I'll be satisfied. Health information on this. Just half the pouch is 25% of your daily recommended value of saturated fats, with 0.3 grams of trans fats, which is excluded from most foods entirely.
I am going to the gym tomorrow.
They've fortified it with vitamins though. There's lots of vitamin A, C, calcium, and iron.
Well, that's why these meals sell.
Mm-hmm. It's okay. The noodles are a little bit hard still. Although I don't know if they would have cooked much more. I'm going to have to make the audio really muffled for this part, or else you're just going to hear the worst mouth sounds ever. All the lip smacking.
It's not bad.
Oh, I got the silica gel.
Sorry. Michelina's would be better.
It would be. This still tastes kind of cheesy. It's kind of nice, actually.
Oh.
Weird thing. I bet you if you
It's
made
also hot. It's very warm.
If you made one of these, and it was, it's all watery stuff, and then you threw it in a frying pan, the same one perhaps that you used to boil the water, and fried it up after to like get rid of some of the water again after it's been cooked, it would probably be pretty good.
You'd have a nicer sauce.
Yeah. Kind of crispy noodles a little bit. It's okay. Now I gotta awkwardly eat like this for the next 5 minutes. Cut to when this plate is empty.
It smells like bread. Just
Wet bread.
wet bread.
Oh no. Oh, fuck. Oh, it didn't even mix. Does it say you have to give it a shake or something?
Maybe we should have stirred it.
Yeah. just a lump. Okay, so we're moving on now to the biscuits and gravy. This looks like the least promising of the three options we've had here today.
Disgusting.
It just looks like a pile of slop, which honestly is what we should have expected for something that is literally advertised to be wet bread. Pour water on biscuits. Not
Yeah, but like this looks like clam chowder and semen.
Yeah. I'll think of that while I'm eating it. Here we go.
I still gotta mix in some of my powder.
Tastes like biscuits.
Does it?
Yeah. It's not terrible. It's salty. Very salty. Not the worst.
Looks horrible.
Not bad.
Tastes better than it looks. But it is very.
Oh, and it does have, I should add, pork sausage crumble.
So, salt.
Yeah.
Jesus.
I think I would opt, instead of taking these, maybe take a gun and hunt my own food.
Yeah.
Or a fishing line, or somebody who's good at picking berries and possibly mushrooms if they're very skilled.
Or like we said, just bring eggs for breakfast.
Yeah.
Noodles. Not hard to bring. They're light.
No, and you boil them in water just the same as this.
I bought it because it seemed like this one's not a normal. I've had noodles camping, I've had eggs camping, but I've never been camping thinking, you know, it'd be great.
Biscuits and gravy.
Biscuits and gravy.
I like it as a concept. As a dish, it's not great, but it's okay.
I'd rather be at the Cracker Barrel, but this is okay.
Mm-hmm. So there are no Cracker Barrel restaurants in Ontario, are there? No. It's a shame. We go back over the border at some point. This is kind of like Buffalo's prime time of the year. This is like their weather they're known for. Just blizzards and freezing misery. And it doesn't really get any busy there in the summertime anyways. It's a very, very quiet city.
Depressing in some parts.
A little bit. A little bit.
It's weird. This is one of the meals that when you're eating it, it's salty, but in your mouth, it just feels saltier. It's a weird thing. Like it's.
What is the... Let's see the sodium content.
Probably not good.
For half a pouch, 970 milligrams of sodium, which is 40% of your RDA, or daily, recommended daily value. Yeah.
I suppose I should have warned you earlier.
RDV.
I thought they'd be light meals. I didn't buy them till today, but I assumed that they wouldn't be healthy. So I ate well all day. So I didn't kill myself tonight.
I guess you could say I'm on a health kick, although it's not really the health part of it that I was concerned about. I went to Costco and bought all of the things that I like for eating at work. So I'm not just living off fast food anymore. I'm eating like the Cliff Bars and like the protein nutrient shake things, and basically all my daily recommended value amounts for vitamins are probably being met suddenly.
That's good.
Costco's a great place.
And now after these 3 meals, your sodium's probably at 100% too.
Mm-hmm. I ate a salty soup from Tim Hortons today. And then at the dental office, they took my blood pressure. And it was good after a salty soup. So, good to know that it barely affects me. That's another thing. Maybe somebody could explain it to me. Why on earth do dental hygienists take your blood pressure when you're having work done for like dental work that has nothing to do with an infection or anything to do with your bloodstream or anything like that, and there's no pre-existing condition? What on earth would that have to do with any dental work?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
Ooh.
You look terrible
Ooh,
after eating that.
that was... And talking about blood pressure, I'm probably about to keel over.
I'm gonna try to finish it.
Oh.
That's it for me.
So if you were starving, these would work. Although if you're starving, I'm assuming you're either starving in the woods, so hopefully you brought these, or you're starving not in the woods. And if you're starving in civilization, there's a reason why you're starving. A lot of people who are starving don't have money, so don't go to Bass Pro to buy these.
No, and buy like regular military rations if you're actually looking for something that perhaps you want to just last long.
Where would we get regular military rations? At that store you should get some.
Yeah, the Mac probably would have some. Although there's got to be a cheaper source because I'm sure they charge a real big premium for them. If you just talk to somebody that maybe runs a cadets program or has an actual connection to the Canadian military, there's got to be some supplier that you could contact to get them. I don't know why they wouldn't just sell it to civilians. They're probably not really all that cheap either, but they're good products, I would say.
So, the eggs. Let's talk individually.
Eggs are okay. Drained of all... Again, that's the one that I could say would benefit from, one, cook a little bit longer, and two, throw it in the frying pan that you boiled the water in after, because then it would fry it up and make it kind of crispy. Crispy bacon, crispy eggs would be good.
A crispy bacon crumble.
Yeah. I think that would be a perfectly acceptable meal. That's probably one of the better ones.
The eggs were kind of second for me. The lasagna basically tastes...
Yeah, the lasagna is the most easy. And that's the same thing with all of the rations, too. The pasta dishes are always done pretty well.
If I didn't know you that well, and you invited me over for a lasagna casserole, and that is what you served me, and I didn't know, I would not necessarily be offended. It was lasagna. It wasn't amazing,
yeah,
but it was lasagna.
It was.
But the biscuits and gravy are absolutely not.
Should we read the ingredients maybe on one of these?
Sure.
So this is the lasagna one.
Which one's the unhealthiest? Is it lasagna or the biscuits and gravy?
Might even be the eggs. Yeah, it's the eggs.
Is it the eggs?
Yeah. Oh, actually, that one's per pouch. So it's not per half a pouch. So 64 grams is the whole pouch. Oh, it's quite comparable. Half the pouch is 70 grams out of those two. I think it's the eggs.
Okay,
It's
so
the
read the
worst.
eggs. Because eggs and bacon are pretty simple.
It's mostly because of the salt content and the saturated and trans fats. But ingredients: cooked scrambled eggs, liquid egg, whole egg, the yolk, skim milk, powder, modified cornstarch, corn oil, salt, yeast extract, sunflower oil, smoke flavor, xanthan gum, bacon, which is it's a bunch of stuff that goes into their fake bacon, which is pork, water, salt, sodium erythrobate, sodium nitrate,
Erythorbate.
whatever the hell. May contain smoke flavor, sugar, dextrose, brown sugar, sodium phosphate, and potassium chloride.
The bacon's pretty standard bacon.
Nothing shocking. And that was actually what I was going to get at with the lasagna, too, because the first ingredient is tomatoes, which is pretty good. Tomatoes, tomato juice, salt, citric acid, calcium chloride, tomato paste, lasagna. Lasagna is literally one of the ingredients in the lasagna. Enriched durum.
Is there lasagna in this?
There is lasagna in this. Cooked beef crumbles, beef flavor, and salt. I don't know what it's made of. The beef crumbles are just beef flavor and salt, apparently. So it's flavored salt.
Okay.
Apparently. Dehydrated onions, modified cornstarch, spices, sugar, garlic powder, dehydrated parsley. These are healthier than some of the things you'd throw in the microwave.
Yeah. I'm sure that, well, there's probably more preservatives, more salt. Salt's probably the main thing that's really out of whack.
There's a lot of salt in these.
I will admit, we just ate a 3-course meal. It wasn't amazing.
No.
But if you assume that going to a restaurant or even fast food restaurant, I'm full.
Yeah, I'm pretty full too.
And it only costs us $16 a person.
That's a lot.
A&W, you'd spend that.
I get a way better meal at A&W.
You do,
Yeah.
but the cost per, I don't know. I won't go camping with them,
No, I won't either.
but that was neat.
Yeah. Do something.
And there's a whole lot more. I was looking at certain things, and they have, like,
Where did you go to? You see, we're at the Bass Pro Shop.
the camping section.
Why were you at the Bass Pro Shop?
Specifically to get those.
Really? Where did this idea come from then?
I had seen a lot of people doing it online.
Oh, that's right. That goes back to some viral trend. It's not terribly interesting for an online trend. Usually there's something a bit more controversial about it, like people are drinking their detergent or something.
Well, that's next week's episode.
Nice.
Yeah.
Do we get to try to
I have experience.
blind taste test the difference between Tide and Dawn?
Sure.
Okay. Perfect. Pods or liquid?
Liquid.
Okay.
And you're up first.
Traditionalist.
Yeah.
Well, you've drank soap, so I mean, yeah, you do have experience.
Yeah.
That's fair enough.
No, they have like breakfast ones. You could get like a apple berry crisp or
Is it like
crumble.
an oatmeal? Yeah.
I would assume it's like oatmeal, but the thing about it is they were just as unhealthy, high in nutrients, but unhealthy in every other way. And if you're going to be unhealthy, you might as well get things that are known to be, like, lasagna is not a healthy meal in most cases anyways. And biscuits and gravy.
Vegetarian lasagna is pretty good for you.
Well, yes, but if you make an old fashioned
Biscuits and gravy, no.
No.
Healthy.
and that one was definitely overly salty. Like,
Yes.
Attack on taste buds. Salty. Yeah.
Moving on. So,
You come up with something interesting.
I have, although all of my ideas cost a lot of money. I don't know. I can't talk about them because then they're not surprises anymore. Like this. This was a surprise. It's a cool surprise.
It's a good surprise. Are you
I'm
happy?
Yeah, I'm not creative on a budget, unfortunately. Like I'll jerry rig things in my own life to work for like cheap, but I can't come up with fun things to do that I think other people will enjoy as much as I do for cheap. I mean, this isn't even that cheap, but yeah, this is affordable compared to the shit that I've thought about.
It's not bad.
No.
I mean, we had to eat anyways, so.
So, on a survivalist note, have you ever seen the show Life Below Zero?
No.
Okay. There's a Netflix, I guess, I don't know if it's just
I have a feeling
originally aired on Netflix.
it's about people that live in below zero.
Above the Arctic Circle is the catch. And it's on Netflix. And it's, yeah, just a show about people trying to survive up there. And it's really interesting, but I don't really understand the people. They're all isolationists except for maybe like one guy, and I think there's only one season, or maybe there's multiple. But anyways, in the first season, there's one guy that they follow his life, and he lives with, I guess it's a racially insensitive term at this point probably, but like Eskimos. Like his wife is native to Inuit territory
I
up there or
don't
whatever.
know if that's...
Actually, they're in Alaska. I don't know either. Anyways, they're in Alaska. She's native to the area, and like all of her family obviously too. And they've sort of taken this guy in, and he's like surviving up there, and I guess he just loves it. But never mind him. He looks happy. He looks like the best guy on the show to be.
Okay.
The rest of them are like they're isolated from everybody else. Like one of the lady's closest neighbor is like 330 miles away. That's his closest
That's
neighbor.
crazy.
Yes. And they all brag about the same things. They always say, "Oh, I like a challenge or whatever," and I like the lifestyle. I like this, and they're all pitching like how great it is. But the whole time on the show, they're freaking miserable. Like everything is going wrong constantly.
Is it on Netflix? That's where you watch
It's on
it?
Netflix. Yeah.
Okay. I know what I'm watching.
It's worth a
tonight.
watch. Just do it. It's a great show. My favorite character, my favorite person on the show is the older lady. I can't remember her name, but she's the furthest north of all of them. She's like almost at the tip of Alaska, pretty much. She must have been loaded. Like, I don't know how much money she had before she went and did this, but like she has a camp. Like she owns a camp. There's probably maybe a dozen camp buildings and a couple hangars and stuff all around. She has everything. Like literally, she has the systems in place to store $15,000 worth of fuel just for this camp, and that's what she uses in a season. $15,000 of fuel. She has like
What?
yeah, and she has every kind of electrical system and comfort thing. She has internet. She has satellite. Everything. She's set up, and she has a Bobcat that she like the machine or whatever to like clear the runway so the supply planes can land, and she can like move around her fuel tanks and all this stuff. And she walks around with a gun at all times because there's like I don't know wolverines and wolves and shit up there.
So when you call it a camp, it's a base camp for her. She's not.
Yeah. And I guess maybe how she makes her living, she gives like tours.
It has to be.
People fly in. That's not really discussed on the show at all. Although she was on the Joe Rogan podcast, which is how I found out about this show. This is ages.
What?
This is I watched that episode like a year and a half ago or 2 years ago.
Well, then I'm
So
gonna
it's
have
an
to
old
do
one.
some backtracking.
Worth watching. I don't understand these people, and maybe you can understand an isolationist a little bit differently than
Thank
I
you?
do. No, differently. I'm not saying you have some kind of special talent. I'm saying you have a different perspective. What do you think makes people do that?
Okay, so I haven't watched the show,
No,
obviously.
but you have a general idea of what these people are doing.
Yep.
Now that I've described it.
Now, as they're surviving, is it work 12 hours a day to survive, or do they get off time?
It doesn't look like off time really exists. All of your choices that you make have to be survival oriented. You're never like, especially the way they describe it, because they all try to be badasses on the show. I'd say all of them say like you can't let your guard down for a second. Especially that old lady. She pitches it like,
Okay, but what if they're in
you're
their
done.
in their cabin?
yeah,
Like,
apparently shit can get in there. I don't know.
okay, because the isolation, I don't. It's weird. YouTube recommends odd things every now and then when I watch them, I'm thinking, wow, this must be a growing trend that I didn't know about. And then sometimes, no, it's not a growing trend. It's a big thing that I had no idea existed online. And one thing that I like watching, there's a few big channels of people that just left. And I don't know how they upload shit, but they're living in the forest.
I've seen stuff.
And
yeah.
these are really cool videos. And living in a forest that gets a winter but isn't the Arctic, I can see that more than living in the Arctic. But I don't
The
know.
difficulty is pretty much everybody's going to rely on supplies at some point. Like, there's very few individuals on the planet. Well, I shouldn't push it on the planet. There's some that are remote enough. But let's just say in North America, very few individuals in North America that are self-sustainable. Like, they do not use money, for instance, to acquire goods. That, like, there's very few people that are just beyond that, I would say.
I don't know if you could find anybody who is beyond
If
that.
they are like that, you're not finding them.
It's true.
So, and I'm sure that people can live like that, like the native peoples that live up there. There might be some that, still make all of their clothes handmade, and they just trade stuff with people. They don't use money to purchase things. They don't have a job. They don't have a social insurance number. They're off the grid. Like, they probably exist.
So why would I want to go do something like that? I can't. If you're talking, do you want to move to the Arctic? No.
No.
I actually had a chance to do that. It wasn't the Arctic. It was Nunavut.
Pretty far up there still.
Yep. Graduated college. Got a job offer with CBC as a correspondent. It was a 3-year contract
But they're going to fly you to none of it.
in Nunavut.
Ooh. That'd be cool. That'd be a life changer.
Yeah, but that's I
You
can
would come back a different person.
You'd come back a different person. 3 years, you're not visiting on weekends.
No.
So I hummed and hawed and didn't take it, and now every so often I look back and I think that would have been cool, but I had to say no just based on everything that was happening and the fact that they would pay some uprooting. But thinking about it at the time, I potentially would still be in Nunavut with Jessica. So I think I made the right choice.
Probably a great choice.
So if you said move to the Arctic, I'd be like, Eric.
It's not even about that. It's more about the isolation and like the constant, like, your job is now just to survive.
Yeah, that's an incredibly masculine thing to do. It's a primal thing to do.
On this show, a lot of the it's not really a masculine thing. Women are doing it. A lot of the guys on the show have wives, and maybe it was the guy's idea to do it in the first place, but the women are toughen it out too. So I don't
So
know.
on these shows with the ones with, or on this show with the people with wives, are the guys out hunting, or have they kept traditional roles where the guys are
Kind
hunting
of.
and the women are gatherers?
Yeah,
Interesting.
largely, except for the native societies, it seems like those women are pretty freaking tough. So they're pretty much just as they're tasked differently, not based on gender, but just based on what does the family structure need. Does someone need to be making clothes? Does someone need to be foraging? Whatever, and then they, somebody fills that role, kind of thing.
If I got a good notepad with thousands of sheets of paper, and that's why I would go away. Imagine to a forest, not to the Arctic. The pure creativity of having nobody around you, no distractions outside of survival, which is a big
I think survival. I feel like your imagination would kick back in to like childhood abilities almost, because you have lacked so much stimuli. Like even something as simple as putting your phone away like an hour before you go to bed, and then when you finally do go to bed, there's no light or anything like that. Your thoughts just run wild compared to how, like pretty much it's almost like self-medication at this point for me, where like when I go to bed, I'm just watching stuff on my phone until I fall asleep. Like there isn't a spare second in the day when I'm being understimulated. That's not acceptable, kind of thing. These people are in a totally different world where every stimulus means so much more, so they probably have a very high sensitivity to things like that, and especially creativity.
So that would be one of the reasons why I would get away. There was a few, even day trips really, in 2015 when I just got this apartment in the summer. I would disappear for a day or so into some trails, and I'd find a little place off the beaten path and sit on a log and write on my iPad. Not exactly roughing it, but
Like around here?
Sometimes it depended on where I was. I was able to do it in Tilsonburg too.
Fair enough.
I can't explicitly remember where. I was never too far away from.
I definitely had that mentality a little bit when I was a student, where I would just like go wander places. I wouldn't really make a camping trip out of it or
I didn't
something.
camp,
But like pretty much any recreational trail from Port Dalhousie to about at least Thorold, but maybe pushing it a bit further to Welland. Pretty much seen them all at this point. At least it feels that way. There's so many little paths here and there, but I've gone just about everywhere I think I could go reasonably. So yeah, it's not something I really do anymore. Kind of wish I did. Should do a lot more hiking.
I mean, I used to like it. I would still like it. Still do a lot of things. Have you been ziplining? And I'm not talking like ziplining over the falls.
No.
There's a good place close to my parents' cottage, and I think it's advertised as the highest line, because it's up in the trees and it's on a ravine. So as you're ziplining, it's
There's
cool.
a lot of them. It's like hilltop trekking,
Yeah.
whatever.
that was fun.
Yeah. It sounds okay. Although for me, it sounds a
It's
little
not
bit.
wilderness.
No.
It was fun.
It's almost like look at a skier or snowboarder's perspective versus like a tuber. If you're going down in a tube, it's a very restricted experience. I think a zip line would be a very restricted experience
Well,
compared
what
to
would be the
equivalent of skiing or snowboarding. Dirt biking down the hill.
well on that
Be
note?
pretty extreme.
That'd be extreme.
be
But think of
fun.
the view as you're going down the hill
That's fair.
up.
Yeah. It'd be cool. I wouldn't say no to it. I don't know if it's not something I've really ever thought of seeking out.
It's fun.
Zip lining.
It was fun. The nice thing about that place is we went, I think it was in 2014, so it would have been 4 years since I'd finished Scouts, and every week we paid dues in Scouts to fund things, and we kept paying into this, and then we never did anything, and then everybody just kind of left because we all grew up. So we made enough to fund all, like 7 of us, to go ziplining, so we made a day trip of it. It was fun. But the place that we went, nice place, Long Point. It's very much a tourist place. It's like, I can't remember what it's called. But good hiking trails, but they don't target campers. They target glampers. And
is there like space for like big RVs?
No, not even that. Like Mary and Nelson, they have an RV, and that's an entirely different experience. They have tents that look like tents.
Do they have like electrical plugs?
But have everything. A bit like not like I would have to kind of pansy up a little bit and get a foam mattress or something.
Yeah,
now,
like sleeping on the ground.
I used to all the time. Now I just would not be able to. But I still prefer the idea of going camping.
It's a weird kind of nostalgia then, because it's like back in my day, I got inside my poly fucking whatever plastic tent and I roughed it, and even though I had all sorts of great clothes and a fishing rod and whatever, I'm sure there's somebody back in time that's like, well, we fucking went out and built our own fucking tent.
It's true.
So I don't know. I don't really know any people that are economically well off enough and yet want the image of camping to be associated with them so that they do that. But I'm sure they're out there. It must be a pretty common thing. It does sound like it takes away a little bit as soon as you maybe have electronics involved almost, where like you're distracting yourself from whatever that experience is. Beyond that, if you're comfortable, I guess that's great.
Think about like how fun and basic electronics there, but how fun like Tila's cottage is the 2 years that I was there.
They have a generator to run lights.
Yes, that's
what you got.
That's
I mean, everybody has their own phone and shit too, but
yeah.
If it dies, it's not really the easiest thing to charge it unless you're running the lights. So you got to be strategic with that.
So, no, it's I do very fondly like and remember good camping experiences.
I went on no more than actually 3 probably camping
You
experiences.
missed a
as kid.
meal, Justin.
Oh,
You have to pee?
no, I gotta bring something back.
Yeah. I only went camping like maybe 3 times as a kid.
I went camping all the time.
See, but then again, I had a cottage where you kind of just walked around and accepted that you could have been attacked by a bear at any moment or like whatever. So I was outdoors a lot. I just wasn't in a tent, which kind of gave me this appreciation growing up. Where all of these people that are from the suburbs talk shit about them being country people because they fucking went camping a bunch of times as a kid or whatever. But then me, like, being in this cottage that didn't have like air conditioning or like any amenity, like it wasn't super nice, was just thinking, why the fuck would you want to go in a tent? Like, it's whatever. I'm over the outdoors in that sense. Like, yeah, I like walking around and doing all that kind of stuff, hiking and all that. Why the fuck are you glamorizing staying in a barely waterproof plastic bag overnight?
That's true, and a lot of people, especially like friends of my brother-in-law and my stepsister, they make jokes that they spend a ton of money to live like homeless people. That's what it is.
That just sounds
so
dumb.
it is a weird thing to do.
Yeah, it's a maybe it's like a I don't want to. It's like the whole oppression Olympics thing's almost like, look how bad of a situation. Not really. Look at all the things I'm going without, even though I'm going with quite a few luxuries at the same time. Driving my $80,000 SUV to the fucking camping site and then just throwing a fucking easy 3-step setup tent out the back of it, and
They really are easy nowadays.
oh, they're super easy.
Like you joked about us being old. I remember when they weren't easy to build.
And that's a trope of every single show that features a tent ever. Just, I can't fucking figure out how to set this thing up.
Yeah, it doesn't exist anymore.
No, they're
if
easy
you have a
to
new
set up.
tent, it's just
They're not too bad. I guess the whole tent pole thing has gone a long way, because most of them are just you link them together and they're all rigid, and you shove it through a bunch of holes that are on the tent, and then you just stick them all down and they all
Yep.
It just goes right up.
Tent design and technology has come a long way. Like I was in the camping section today, so I was looking, probably why I'm thinking about camping and whatnot, and like some of the options and the size of the tents and just the, I suppose, bigger tents were always around, but it's just it's interesting how much is available.
And almost all of them aren't waterproof, even if they say they are. I've never...
The roads are bad.
The roads are bad.
Yes, they are bad.
You know what we had for dinner?
What?
Look.
We had... we had, for a starter,
We tried
scrambled eggs with
camping
bacon.
food. So all
Okay.
freeze
And then we ate
dried
some
food.
lasagna with meat sauce.
Okay, so
And
kind of
then-
like meal ready go.
Yeah, except the catch is you just pour water in all of these, including the biscuits and gravy. So basically, it's wet bread.
Yeah, it sounds disgusting.
Which one do you think was the best?
With water, probably lasagna and meat sauce.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Number 2 being the scrambled eggs and bacon. It didn't really feel like eggs, but it tastes like breakfast
Okay.
because of the bacon.
Yeah.
The biscuits and gravy kind of sounds.
It
like
smelled
slop.
horrible. It
was
looked
slop.
like clam chowder and semen, but it didn't taste horrible. Tasted like salt
Tastes salty.
and gravy.
Well, that's delicious. After you guys are done, I'm gonna have pork chops.
Pork chops sound wonderful.
No, waterproof. I never went a full scout camp without having something go wrong, water-wise, unless there was no rain, in which case it was okay.
Every time I've gone camping, it's rained too.
It's always nice when you get through a full camping weekend without rain.
It barely matters because a lot of unless it's the hottest part of the year, you're always gonna end up with like dew in the morning, which almost just makes things wet either way.
The problem, I think, with camping in the Scouts versus camping by myself, which maybe I should try to do. In Scouts, it was never, it's a 2-person tent and there's 2 people, or it's 2-person tent, but you always had to share, right? Obviously, even if it was your own tent, it had to be 2 people. I don't know why.
It's weird.
It is weird. But the problem with that is there's a ton of just stuff in the tent, and tents typically don't get as wet when there aren't things touching the side.
Yeah, that makes a big difference.
So I would go camping now with the same size 2-person tent and only put myself in it and probably be a little bit better.
It's okay. I don't know. Actually, I've camped a little bit in my adult life and like Algonquin Park and stuff. I slept in I think it was a 6-person tent by myself because it was just better than the tent that I had. It was Shane's old tent. Man, that wasn't great. It's still wet as fuck. I don't know. It had rain flies and everything. Didn't make a difference. I'm going to transition away from camping as we talked about for a little bit. And I'm going to stay on the topic of wet. So, I learned about an interesting phenomenon, and perhaps you know that this is a threat. So, there is current that goes through audio equipment cables. So, for instance, these microphones, right?
Yes.
48 volts precisely. And stuff like, let's just say, the cord that runs from a guitar to an amplifier. There's there's current. And I didn't really understand exactly how this worked a long time ago, but I remember a guitar teacher making some joke about it being harmless or whatever, and there's no electricity running through that or whatever. And I didn't really understand what he meant. I don't even know why the topic came up. But it turns out he was wrong, because there's apparently a phenomenon that I found out by looking through a list of deceased music artists, and its list cause of death, and one of them came up, and it struck me as odd: death by electrocution through microphone. And I started researching this, and apparently, if a amplifying setup for like a microphone or whatever does not have a ground pin, so in other words, it's not earth grounded back at its source, then it can become an issue. Because if, let's just say, you are not grounded, you're on stage, but you're holding the microphone or whatever, and the microphone is a 50-volt microphone. You will be charged with 50 volts, which you're not going to notice. That's not a lot of electricity. You walk around and rub your feet on the carpet, and nothing, happens until you touch a doorknob or whatever, right?
Right.
So you can have that potential of electricity stored up in you, and you wouldn't notice. It's only when you become a ground that you can get shocked, which is typically an issue in like wet conditions, which is how this artist in particular died. They were using a microphone, and part of your saliva or whatever is also an issue, but there were some kind of moisture to conduct a current from the microphone to
Sweat.
themselves, and then it shorted out on the ground. And the current, the amperage, is what's killing people in these situations. I also looked up some modern examples, and it doesn't always kill people, but it's a lot of electricity, so it sometimes does. But like an artist was singing on stage, wasn't even a particularly wet. It wasn't wet conditions or anything. He was in somewhere in the tropics. He was some singer, a Spanish singer, and he was just singing, doing his thing on stage, holding the microphone. And then he came out to like the edge of the stage where there were like supports and all that, and he was singing, and he went to go lean onto like the stage metal support, grounded out, shock, just fell right off the stage. He was out for like a good 10 minutes where people trying to like resuscitate him down, like just down in the crowd. Trooper got up and he finished the show. But that guy could have died.
Yeah.
So were you aware of this danger?
No.
Because I wasn't either.
That doesn't seem like...
No, like I always thought it was quite a harmless thing, these microphones and guitars, but apparently you can get a wicked shock.
A deadly shock.
A deadly shock, because it's high current as soon as you make ground with your body. Random fact.
I didn't know that. I'm assuming it doesn't happen very often.
You might get shocks are probably pretty common, although big shocks not so much. But even like, and I'm sure that mostly using ground pinned equipment and other measures are taken for like big shows these days. Although I'm sure lots of people are still using old equipment that's perhaps not safe. The equipment itself has to be shorting out, mind you, to even get you to have a current or a voltage in the first place. It's interesting. The yeah.
You're gonna call up your professor or teacher and tell them they were
Wasn't
wrong.
it was a guitar teacher.
Tell them
So
they're
he
wrong.
didn't know shit anyways. He was just some dumbass fucking in Innisfil that was making a living teaching kids how to play a guitar that he probably wasn't that great at anyways. Guitar teachers are really sleazy people. As an adult, looking back, I had some weird fucking people teach me guitar. Like, nothing really, like, weird legally ever happened or anything like that. Like, they weren't, like, growing weed in the back of their fucking house. But just getting dropped off by your parents at some fucking stranger's house while they try to impart some knowledge to you, but they have no formal education or training to do so, and might be a really shitty teacher. It's just a weird thing that is, at least was, culturally acceptable.
It still is.
I guess that's how they... But there's a lot of academies and stuff and actual businesses that do it, which is a little bit... Yeah, and it costs money. I don't know. Do you think it's still a really common thing where people just have a spare room in their house with a bunch of instruments and they get students to come in?
I guarantee we know at least one person that's doing it.
Do we?
G isn't teaching at a
Oh, yeah, I guess
at a
G. Yeah, you're right.
academy, and he's not sleazy.
I almost look a little bit differently at maybe younger people doing it for some reason. Because when I was a kid, it was always like 50-year-old men or whatever. Like it was strange.
Yeah.
Like, and almost as an adult, like you wouldn't think of this as a kid, but as an adult, it's like, can't you accomplish more with your life? I don't know. It seems like a sad profession once you're that old.
It depends on what they're doing, though. Like, G, I don't exactly know how old he is, but we'll say he's around our age somewhere, maybe a little bit older.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
That's a good thing for him because he's touring and he's making money as a teacher.
He's a musician first. That's his job. That makes sense.
So what about your teacher? Was he a musician first?
I don't think he made money from playing guitar. He only made money from teaching guitar. That's where I'm getting at. Like, if you are 50, 60 years old and you're playing the guitar, you should probably be a master at it at that point. It'd be strange if you picked it up in your fucking 30s or something. So he's probably been playing since he was like in his teens or 20s. If you are that old and skilled at this instrument, I just feel like if you're teaching, you should be teaching people that are professionals. Like, people that are really good at guitar should be looking up to you still. not like teaching kids from day one. Oh, this is how you hold the fucking guitar. Why? I don't know. I frown upon old music instructors, apparently.
What about it's not entirely related, but I always thought it was weird. Any type of instructor, college, university a little bit less, but college, hands-on courses. Why did my college professors become a teacher? Because they all worked in the film industry before.
And possibly weren't good enough at those jobs, and then they have to teach.
I always got, because it's
Teaching itself can be a sleazy profession.
Those who can. Those who can't, teach.
Yes.
And those who can't teach, do sales.
And like all good jokes, there's a glimmer of truth to it.
They all of my teachers had amazing careers back then. I
guess it just doesn't pan out to what we think it might.
Well, you end up perhaps with a good teaching career. You're probably paid very well.
Professors in universities and colleges, then yeah, they probably get paid pretty decent.
You only have to work 8 months out of the year.
Yeah.
If you're still okay, maybe just talking about it isn't that bad. You only work 8 months out of the year.
Maybe it's a good gig.
Some of them still took time off if they had projects to work on. So if they have a passion project.
That's the different thing about university professors is that they have teaching is only a small part of what they do. They do a lot more for research and for actual administrative duties as well. So that's a different. Maybe if you picked out high school teachers as a better example, or grade school teachers.
Okay, high school teachers.
Most
of these people went to school just to be a teacher, though.
Exactly. What the fuck do they know about the world? And the ones who didn't, who ended up there somewhere along the way, why weren't they good enough at whatever they were doing to stay there? Now they're teaching us.
That's true. Why did they think that they have the proper skill to teach the people of the next generation? I've had a few good teachers, ones that had been teachers all their lives, but they were all, I don't want to say old school, because I had one old school English teacher, and she was a bitch. Mm-hmm. She's probably dead now, so I can say that.
Lots of my supply teachers, especially, and some teachers are probably dead now. It's weird to be that much of an adult, yeah.
But the teachers that were just a few years away from retirement, right? So in their 60s, maybe a little bit earlier or later, I don't know. Some of them were really good. Good with wisdom, at least.
Yeah.
I learned a lot from a few that retired.
I think maybe the bar for entry back then was a bit in a different place. So they probably could have had some other career or other jobs along the way before they landed there. Whereas now, if you're going to be a teacher, you go to school for that right away.
It's true.
It's this weird thing, too, where, you see it, not just teaching, but, people who go nonstop through grade school to high school to post-secondary education to, oh, shit, I can't actually get a job. They're thrust into the world, and they don't know anything. The only difference with these teachers nowadays is that they did get the job, but that doesn't mean they know much.
They don't get the job, though. Most of them can't. They're all supply teaching forever.
Yes.
With no benefits, not knowing if you're going to work tomorrow until tomorrow. Mm-hmm. And no, that's horrible.
Seems like a terrible way to do it.
I get it. There's passion. Grade school is weird, too, because in high school, my accounting teacher went to school for accounting at the very least, right? My math teacher, same thing. Grade school teachers teach everything except for French and maybe science and stuff like that. At least in Catholic school. I don't know about other schools.
But in my grade school, French or science?
I had French and music. I had a designated French teacher and a designated music teacher.
That makes sense.
But everything else was taught by one teacher. There's no way in hell you are a master in math, science.
But you don't have to be to teach grade school kids.
I realize that.
Honestly, I could teach grade school kids everything, including
especially
French
if I had
music.
a lesson plan.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. French and music, no problem. I'll do those and everything else.
You could teach French?
Sure. Why not?
Do you speak fluent French?
No, I don't have to.
I feel like you do.
No. Many French teachers, well, pretty much all of them, could speak fairly fluent French, but
Probably because
but the way that it's structured, you don't need to.
That's their niche.
They teach the same. French is one of the worst taught things in all of our school system in Ontario, from what I can tell. I don't know what the other provinces are like, but it's so fucking repetitive. You learn the same thing from grade 1 to at least grade 9. 'Cause that's
That
as
is
far
true.
as I took it. I took it every year from grade 1 to grade 9. It's the same thing over and over again, and all they want to get through your head is, oh, these are like when to use feminine and masculine, and certain, and then they teach you tenses for words, and they teach you fucking the possessive, like is it his or hers or whatever, stuff like that, and it's just the same things over and over again. And they teach you to count, great, which is actually pretty good because you can remember that at least for the most part.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Which that's fair. That should have been taught like first, second grade. Done. We know how to count now. Perfect. Make us do math in French. Why the fuck didn't they do that?
Okay, but there's options there though. Mason's in a French immersion school, and he does it in French.
They're probably fine in French immersion school. They're probably taught decently.
At the beginning of his schooling, it was the basics, and I got thinking, much like you, like, okay, he's learning. But now that he's been in it for a few years, we really don't talk about it anymore. He goes to school, he speaks French.
You either need to like go and actually teach French properly in just like regular schools, public schools, and Catholic schools, or just get rid of it. I don't know what the heck we're doing. I kind of wish I knew more French.
Me too.
All of the French I know is just the slang that my family members speak on my dad's side, because it's a French-Canadian background. And in fact, I found that more useful than school for the most part, because a lot of the phrasing for things in actual French is more on the slang side. Like,
that's how Melissa's grandfather talks all the time. It's just awesome slang.
I don't know if we talked about it in the podcast, but on New Year's, was it New Year's?
It was New Year's Eve.
New Year's.
When Ubered over.
Yes, we Ubered over, and then I proceeded to like start talking to Melissa's grandfather for like an hour.
Yep.
About every little. I don't know. I felt like I connected with him better than I could most grandparents. He had lots of wisdom, and then I had some of a similar experience with certain things, because he had a background he was a contractor, and he built houses, and I know how houses were built back then a little bit, and I could ask him about things, and I could tell him about how things are done now. It was great. And having that French Canadian background too, I from interacting with family members my whole life, I got what he was saying pretty much.
That's good.
It's cool. I don't. Yeah.
Interesting. I didn't really grow up with anybody French outside of the French teacher in school, so it never stuck. I took it until I didn't have to take it.
Yeah, I took it till grade 9, and that was it.
Yeah.
And grade 9's great, because they outright tell you it's just a review of everything you learned in grade school, pretty much. So you get to do it again one more time.
I know, especially going from Catholic school to public school in grade 9, because Tillsonburg was so weird, because they were one of the last public school, or one of the last middle schools in Ontario.
They had a middle school, yeah.
So now you have a school that goes till grade 8, then high school 9, 10, 11, 12. Tillsonburg had a school till grade 8, but then also had a school that did 7, 8, 9, and then a high school that did 10, 11, 12.
Weird.
Yes. So I went to grade 8 in Catholic school, and went to a completely new school with more people that I absolutely didn't know existed for grade 9, and then we switched schools again for 10, 11, 12.
But you transitioned with those people that were in the other school, I'd imagine.
Very few. Most of them went to the Catholic high school, but I was 45 minutes away. I stayed local because I didn't want to spend an hour and a half on the bus each day.
I did not make that smart decision, and I rode the bus really far to go to school, because I went to Catholic school instead of the public school that was right beside my house. Most of my friends were there. That was my only excuse. And I was out in Barrie, so I was like far away from my parents, and I guess the teenager kind of needs that. I never thought at the time, and I never really... Yeah, I don't think it mattered that much. But
I would miss all the afternoon shifts at A&W if I had went to that high school, so... I made the choice. It was good. It was fine. It was just jarring to be in a new school at that developing teenage years, and then also not knowing anybody.
That's like everybody's experience, I think.
Depends. If you're in a town, typically you change schools, but you may still know a lot more people.
How many high schools were there?
There was
in Tillsonburg?
One high school in Tillsonburg.
Just one.
One middle school.
So, but keep in mind, so there's one high school. So people that are your same age, everybody's there.
Yes. That high school was 10, 11, 12. Then there was a grade school, public.
Yeah.
Kindergarten through grade 8.
But I'm not worried about any of that. I'm just saying, like, people, you would know people that are your age, and all the people that are your age are there. There's nowhere else to go.
No, because all throughout the years, you'd have the people that went to Catholic public school and the people that went to public.
Yeah.
Tilsonburg didn't have a Catholic high school, so us in the Catholic school had to choose: do we want to continue or not? Most people continued. I did not.
And
so
they all just went out of town.
They went out of town.
Yeah.
So I went to a school where I really didn't know anybody. It was a 75-25 split percentage-wise.
Fair enough.
And
I mean, I went to school for high school in a different city, and that city has 6 high schools, and they all have 1,500 students. So
where did you go to high school?
I went to high school at St. Peter's Secondary School
in
Barrie.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't know anybody really. I mean, I say that I went there because I knew more friends. My grade school class, I knew 30 people from where I was coming from. That was the list of all the people I knew, and then most of them, so just over half of them, maybe 16 people, went to that high school that now has 1,500 people.
Very small percentage.
Yeah.
I wish I'd made the transition from grade school to high school better, similar to what I compared to high school to college. High school to college was better. People didn't know me in college. People didn't know me in high school. I could have made something better of myself, been a little bit more like myself, but I didn't. We talked about that before.
That's everybody. I can reinvent myself, but nope. Because unfortunately, whether you like to admit it or not, whatever you that you're embarrassed about is still you, and you can't really change that. At least not with any quick pace. And if you did at a quick pace, you're faking it. So you can't keep that up.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's probably a good point to wrap up.
Yeah.
I feel like we elucidated that point.
Thank you for coming over to my house for dinner.
Yes, it was a good dinner. I'm glad that I partook in the salty food.
Very salty.
Check us out on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, Facebook, and there's one more.
Google Play Store.
Google Play Store.
Or
We got
Google
a proof.
Play
We
Music.
got a proof of that.
Yeah.
Nice. I did not realize. So
We
there we
didn't
go.
get it. We didn't. I don't think we're gonna get it approved for iHeartRadio.
I don't care.
And that's basically it.
So simultaneously open up every one of those in your browser and let them play.
It sounds horrible.
Open it up on your phone and put your phone on a PA system and just blast
I did that
it to
yesterday
strangers.
because I've been
With
live.
a podcast?
Well, I've been live.
Okay.
I've been live premiering the videos, so it looks live, but it's not.
Yeah.
Right? And I was just curious, so I started playing it on my laptop, and then I started playing it on my phone, and you would expect a slight delay.
Was it really bad?
Yeah. Between the laptop and the phone, it was a minute behind each other. That makes it no longer live. Really.
What streaming product was that?
Facebook.
Step your game up, Facebook.
Yeah, a little bit. I was taken aback by it, but
Have a good night, everybody.
have a good night. Now there's end music.
Really?
Yeah. Because Tila said, hey, I never know when one ends.